So, a blessed morning, everyone. We are the group 4, and for today, we will be tackling about managing implementation. So, there are actually two types of managing implementation. We have the applause and the appraise. But for today, we will dig deeper on appraise managing implementation. So, project implementation is a process whereby project inputs are converted to project outputs and may be looked at as the following. First is putting in action the activities of the project. Next, we have putting into practice what was proposed in the project proposal into the actual project. And lastly, we have the management of the project or executing the project intentions. So as what the popular saying means, actions speak louder than words. So of course, we need to implement or put into actions all the plans and project proposals done in the early stages in order to have desirable outputs. And there are two phases of project implementation. We have the project activation and the project operation. First, we have the project activation, and it means making arrangements to have the project started, and it also involves coordination and allocation of resources to make project operational. So this may include talking into your suppliers to have desirable discounts for your raw materials. For example, you own a company that manufactures furniture. So in the first phase, no, you are required to look for suppliers of raw materials such as yung mga woods, nails, and etc. And in order, of course, to start your operation. You also need to allocate your resources such as equipment needed for the manufacturing process and so on. And also we have the project operation, which inputs are transformed into outputs to achieve immediate objectives. So for our given example, this is the start of the operation itself, where the raw materials are now in work in progress. So this work in progress, no, it will turn into finished goods after all the process needed in converting inputs to outputs. And then after that, the finished goods will now be then sold to customers with reasonable prices in order to achieve the company's goals, which is to gain profit. However, no, if project implementation phase is not carried out during the project design process and embodied in the project documents, it will be carried out at the project activation stage. So this will be further elaborated later on as the other reporters will discuss the other topics.
The three approaches of project implementation: the top-down approach, the bottom-up approach, and the collaborative participatory approach. First, the top-down approach. Implementation mainly done by agencies from outside of the community with limited involvement by the beneficiaries. It is a management process driven by a business upper level of executives. The larger goals are fragmented into small tasks that are then handed down to lower level. There are many industries in the workforce that find this business approach especially appealing. For example, the Martha Stewart Living Company, owned and managed by lifestyle expert Martha Stewart. She makes the decisions, holds the most equity in the company, and drives the brand awareness due to her worldwide popularity. This approach has advantages: creating clear lines of authority. Second, standardizing product and services. Third is the facilitating quality control. And last is streamlining tasks and achieving goals quickly. The second approach is the bottom-up approach. It is where the beneficiaries implement the project. Outside agencies may provide the financial assistance and financial resources. This style leverages all of its employees' perceptions of business and ideas for the company. This forward-looking approach considers each aspect of a company by taking in the respective employees' inputs to make better decisions for the entire company. Banking companies, in particular like Ernst & Young, uses bottom-up approach to analyze aspects of their company in comparison to the microeconomic variables of the economy. These companies benefit from having well-rounded perception to decide to have better results. These are the advantages of this approach. First, forming a unique perception of the company, its goals, and its employees. Second, measuring operational risk in terms of fraud, model, and employee risk. Third, reallocating assets and decision-making power. Fourth, giving voice to all employees. The last approach is the collaborative participatory approach. It is the combination of both top-down and bottom-up approaches. It is an approach which everyone who has a stake in the intervention has a voice, either in person or by representation. Everyone's participation should be welcomed and respected, and the process shouldn't be dominated by any individual or group, or by a single point of view. Everyone actually gets to participate in the planning process and has some role in decision making. The advantages of this approach are: participation carries with it feelings of ownership and builds a strong base for the intervention on the community. It involves important players from the outset. A participatory planning process builds trust. And lastly, it teaches skills which last for beyond the planning process.
Now we're moving to the next part of the lesson, the factors affecting project implementation. When we start our project implementation, we always face different kinds of problems or issues that affects our project implementation. And we have different kinds of examples of implementation problems. And these are poor scheduling of projects leading to delays in implementation, misallocation of funds, delay or lack of counterpart funding, lack of accountability and transparency, bureau accuracy in decision making, selfish or favoritism by some project managers, weak monitoring systems, natural calamities, lack of teamwork, lack of incentives for implementers, and policy changes.
Hi everyone, I am Angel Ulson from the group we're reporting. The chosen topic I picked was managing implementation project. Project implementation involves directly managing a project. Next, we proceed to the concept notes of project implementation and the structures. First one is project procurement plans. Project procurement plans is contracting for goods, works, and consultant to carry out the project. The second one is procurement processes. A preparation for the plan qualification bid documents. And some structures is may implemented the measurements of the system update. A concept development its needs. Solution design and testing are solutions. And lastly, the planning of implementation, it way better of processing.
Hi, my name is Hazel and I'll be discussing project implementation structure. Project implementation structure is also called strategic plan. This is a combination of strategy, process, and action. Naglalaman ito ng mga steps na ginagamit ng isang team para ma-achieve ang kanilang certain goals. So, project implementation structure should emphasize the following. First is establish a measurement system. This is necessary to have a correct or accurate measurements kasi having this will help you to have a better or organized plans. Next is measure results of work, schedule, progress, budget, compliance with technical specifications, and resource requirements. Siyempre, we have to know if there are progress with what we do, and we have to monitor the outcomes. Kung may development na bang nangyari, kung may nasusunod ba ang mga ini-implement. And we have to report the results. Report is important to provide critical analysis. It is also considered as an essential tool because they play an important role in ongoing growth of their or if there are certain problems. Next is we have to predict results of deviation and implement action of deviation. These two are like parallel kasi when you predict results of deviation, you will certainly create or implement certain actions too. Next is to continue review procedures. We have to continuously review the procedures para if ever na may mali, pwede pa nating makorek. And if ever na may better pang ideas, pwede pa nating ma-implement. Ito rin ay necessary in order for us to identify whether to continue the procedures or not. And then we have to monitor and evaluate performance. Just like, for example, ilang beses nang nagkakaroon ng discussion sa isang room and then it's already time for a test. And that test will determine if you already have a progress or not and if effective ba yung pagtuturo. They have to monitor and evaluate every performance. Okay, so note that achievement of project objectives requires both an appropriate organization, structure, and selection of best staff for the work. In addition, the project organization should provide functional manager, flexible use of staff, operation and maintenance of a core project team, simultaneously operation of the functional organization and the project. Why? Kasi syempre hindi naman pwedeng maglalagay na lang sila agad-agad ng mga employees. Since bawat isa sa kanila ay may kanya-kanyang function and certain role. Plus, we're talking about project organization, meaning they have a specific job to handle. Lastly, they need to continuously monitor as it has an impact to the overall outcome of the project.
Lastly, the important things of project implementation that manager undertakes the following implemented project. First one is preparing for project implementation. This is the one to set up the project office, organize the project management staff, allocate duties, responsibilities to staff, establish projects and accounting system, commence of the project activities. The second one is organizing the project management offices. This is what we call PMO. PMO should at the project site or the nearest place that has accommodation, utilities, transport, and communication. Recruiting and transporting personnel. It is the qualified staff who still needs orientation or training courses to improve his skills and should be assigned to the PMO full-time during the project implementation.
Defining and assigning PMO staff responsibilities states that the functions and responsibilities of each staff should be clearly defined in order to make wise decisions and to function well. This explains that when we address the proper job of our staffs, they can perform better when they know what you expect from them, and those expectations are clearly defined by outlining the things an organization requires.
The other one was establishing a project record system. It may project manager must set up the activate projects records and administrative files. Second one is obtaining funds required for the initial works. These are the project manager should be ensure that funds are available for immediate disbursement before undertaking any work that will entail for financial commitment. Second one is recruiting and supervising the work of consultants. Project manager is responsible of the channels communication between the PMO, EA, and the project participants. Third one is supervising construction of works and installations of equipment. These are the frequent sites inspections. Check contracts compliance and technical specification. Review and approve equipment operation. Monitor and compare actual progress of work compared with the schedule. Executing project conveyance. It is undertaken should be carried out in efficient of timely manner. Controlling costs. to execute a project within budget and focus attention on potential cost problems to take corrective or cost minimize actions. This year, the project's monitoring and control to project should be monitored by the progress of project activities, make extensive use, and measure project progress and performances of each employees. And it may help to the preparation for must be detailed enough to identify the address of the problems and being encountered by each plan they do for the manager's undertakings. Lastly, the important things to project implementation was supervising constructions of work, installation of equipment, executing projects, controlling costs, project evaluation, and project recycling. Those I've said for the important things to project implementation may lead the project contains the target on how to implement those things do we emphasize by the various sequence of each project implementation. It also may lead to success due to help by the all personnel for this project implementation occurred. Thank you, that's all.